Hello everyone, and welcome to my SW Update 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kody Brown explains why he believes Meri is not entitled to equal property in Sister Wives. Kody Brown gave his version of events on the division of Coyote Pass during the most recent Sister Wives episode. He feels Meri and Janelle are bothering him unduly, even though they say he's being cunning and dishonest. However, Meri's memories contained one of the most startling revelations of all. Fans are well aware of Kody's low opinion of his ex-wife. Meri, however, claims that he told her that she was not as deserving as the other women. Kody Brown gladly took from Meri, but he refused to tell her. Kody Brown talked about the difficulties of having 18 children in a confessional. Meri has 1, Leon, Robin has 5, Christine and Janelle have 6. Therefore, even though Meri helped support the other spouses' families, Kody acknowledged that he didn't think she deserved as much money or land as the other women. His whole big thing then was I would get 2 acres, Meri disclosed in an interview with her friend Jen regarding Coyote Pass. Well, since you don't have as many children, you don't need as much, he says. The whole incident frustrated Jen, who assisted Meri in seeing how much she had done for the family over the years without getting anything in return. She contributed to college funding and the purchase of cars for other kids. But no one else contributed to Leon's cost. I really don't know how much of the family funds actually paid for other kids' school or cars, but I know that my kids' school was not taken care of from the family fund, Meri said during her own confessional, indicating that she provided independent assistance for Leon's pursuits. In fact, Kody has stated this. I don't have the right to an equal share of the property because I only have 1 child. Kody dismissed this information when it was presented to him. He maintained that everything was water under the bridge. Meri promises to expose the true nature of her ex-husband. Meri will not tolerate Kody's contempt any longer, even though he may have the legal advantage. In a stunning and emotionally charged episode that has left fans buzzing with both admiration and disbelief, Meri Brown's best friend Jen finally spoke out in response to a particularly cutting diss from Kody Brown. This moment not only encapsulates the long-standing tensions that have plagued the Brown family for decades, but it also marks a turning point in the power dynamics that have defined their relationships for decades. Meri posted on social media after Sunday night's episode that she and Jen would be spilling the tea sometime tonight. Jen, who is renowned among fans for her unshakable devotion to Meri and her unvarnished honesty, described how Kody's recent comments, which were intended to minimize Meri's accomplishments and cast doubt on her value as a partner, crossed a boundary that could no longer be disregarded in a long and unvarnished confessional that was caught on video. Jen, whose position as a close confidant has frequently put her in the role of mediator during the innumerable arguments that have broken out on Sister Wives, claims that Kody's remark was not merely a casual remark but rather a purposeful, calculated attempt to regain control over a family dynamic that has grown more and more fractured over time. Jen vividly remembered the incident. Kody went on a tirade during what was supposed to be a typical family get-together, disparaging Meri's views on significant family issues and making it clear that her voice was not given much weight in the decision-making processes that he had monopolized for far too long. Her response, which was a mix of restrained rage and genuine grief, was a call to action as much as a rebuke, a statement that Kody's unbridled power was ending. Jen's voice trembled with a mixture of resolve and frustration as she said, "I'm tired of watching him treat Meri like she's invisible. And I'm not going to stand by while he disrespects not just her, but everything she's worked for over the years." Jen's words struck a powerful chord in that moment, with the kind of clarity that many viewers have come to expect from those who have watched the slow, painful meltdown of what was once hailed as a groundbreaking experiment in alternative family life. Meri had endured years of silently taking the brunt of Kody's contemptuous actions, a pattern characterized by public insults, one-sided decisions regarding family finances and custody, and a persistent undervaluation of her contribution to the family, all of which were painstakingly manipulated into a story that frequently depicted Meri as the silent, suffering spouse in a dysfunctional partnership. However, that facade was broken by Jen's intervention, which exposed the severe emotional toll that her close friend had suffered as a result of the treatment. She described how, over time, Kody's frequent rejections and disparaging remarks had damaged Meri's self-esteem and fostered a generalized culture of fear and insecurity among the other family members. Jen's passionate response came at a time when the family's internal divisions had become more widely known, with previous episodes and off-camera interviews gradually presenting a picture of a home where power was unequally distributed and dissent was not tolerated. "It's like he's been wearing this crown of cruelty, expecting us all to bow down and accept his version of what our lives should be," she explained, her eyes displaying both anger and sadness. Her remarks were a well-considered reprimand that emphasized the need for accountability and change rather than just an angry outburst. The way Kody had unilaterally decided the fate of shared assets without consulting his ex-wives, his habit of publicly mocking any dissenting voices within the family, and even the wider cultural ramifications of a system that permitted such behavior to persist under the guise of a consensual, alternative lifestyle were just a few of the topics Jen touched on in her discussion. Her words struck a deep chord with fans who have followed the Brown family story for a long time because they capture the quiet desperation and simmering anger that many have felt after witnessing years of Meri's silent suffering. "I've seen too many times how his words and actions have left a mark on each one of us," she continued, "and if we don't stand up now, we're just giving him permission to keep doing it." In addition to protecting Meri, Jen's intervention aimed to restore agency to everyone who had been disenfranchised by a system that consistently put Kody's viewpoint ahead of the family's overall welfare. She urged the family and the general public to face the unpleasant realities that lurked beyond the glitzy facade of reality television by speaking out, challenging the very narrative that had been painstakingly crafted over years of selective editing and public relations spin. Jen declared, "It's time we stop letting the cameras hide the pain and start addressing it head-on." Her words have since sparked a heated discussion on fan forums and social media, with some applauding her bravery and others raising concerns about the potential effects of such an open confrontation on the family's public image. Her reaction also represents a larger change in the Brown family, as younger family members and close friends start to insist that their opinions be heard and that their experiences be acknowledged. Many people interpret this as a hopeful indication that the cycle of abuse and devaluation may eventually end. In addition to confronting someone who had long been viewed as the patriarchal head of the family, Jen's decision to publicly criticize Kody carried a high danger of upsetting those who were still firmly rooted in the status quo. But the risks were too high to keep quiet, as she made clear. She emphasized that her support for her closest friends stemmed from a deep-seated belief in justice, respect, and everyone's right to have their voice heard, saying, "I refuse to let another day go by where Meri's pain is ignored or minimized." By doing this, Jen has created a strong example that other family members can follow, an invitation to end the cycle of silence and call for a power shift that accurately represents the contributions and value of every individual in the family. In her response, she makes a strong case for accountability, asking Kody and the system as a whole, which has let these dynamics to continue, to reconsider its principles and procedures in front of the actual human costs that have been incurred. It is unclear how Kody will react to this direct challenge to his authority as the fallout from this confrontation continues to play out on and off screen, or if this will signal the start of a new era where the voices of the oppressed, those who have long suffered in silence, are finally given the opportunity to be heard and to effect significant change. Ultimately, Jen's bravery serves as a reminder that, despite the fact that reality TV may thrive on drama and conflict, the stories that truly matter are those of tenacity, dignity, and the unwavering pursuit of justice in the face of long-standing injustice, a pursuit that, for Meri Brown and her supporters, has just taken a significant step forward. In a shocking and unapologetic revelation that has rocked the Sister Wives fan community and forced many to face the dark underbelly of a life that was once glamorized on reality TV, Meri Brown has come forward with the unvarnished truth about the abuse she endured over decades in her plural marriage with Kody Brown. This revelation not only shatters the carefully cultivated public image of family unity, but also reveals a lengthy history of emotional and occasionally physical torment that left her feeling alone, devalued, and trapped in a setting where her voice was constantly silenced. For years, Meri was depicted on screen as one of the more reserved and silent members of the Brown family, her pain concealed by the glamour and spectacle of a life that, at first glance, appeared to be a mutually agreeable experiment in different family arrangements, but, over time, hints of her internal conflict emerged, verbal insults, contemptuous gestures, and a pattern of conduct that spoke of a man who exercised his power with an iron fist, reducing her contributions to mere afterthoughts, and methodically undermining her own value. In frank confessional moments that have since become crucial points in the series, Meri recounted how Kody used to regularly disparage her in front of their kids, rejecting her thoughts and contributions with such coldness that it left her reeling. She talked about instances in which she tried to voice her opinions about family decisions, whether they concerned the management of shared assets or even the most routine daily tasks, but was met with condescension and outright hostility, making her question whether she could even defend herself without more humiliation or emotional suffering. Meri's inner world was gradually destroyed by an unrelenting cycle of emotional manipulation during the course of her 35-year relationship with Kody, which included both the highs of initial romance and the promise of an eternal union as well as the heartbreaking lows of ongoing abuse. During this cycle, every public humiliation, cold shoulder, and dismissive comment eroded Meri's sense of identity and worth until she reached a breaking point. This accumulation of hurt and betrayal finally forced her to speak out and tell the truth, which has since struck a chord with innumerable viewers who, upon seeing the full scope of her abuse, have shown both indignation and profound empathy. In addition to being a personal catharsis, Meri's story is a potent critique of a system that, under the pretense of religious and cultural tradition, permitted a man like Kody to maintain unbridled control over his wives. This system valued loyalty and submission over individual dignity and left its victims with scars that persisted long after the public spectacle had passed. When Meri described her experience, she clarified that the abuse was not confined to isolated incidents but rather was a ubiquitous aspect of everyday life, a persistent, sneaky presence that showed up in both overt and covert ways, from the way Kody would ignore her when discussing significant family decisions to the times he would openly favor his other wives, making her feel not only unwelcome but also as though her very existence was a burden that needed to be controlled and minimized. She pointed out that the power dynamics in the Brown household were purposefully skewed in favor of Kody, who positioned himself as the final judge of all family matters, depriving his wives of any true agency and putting them in roles that were humiliating and unsustainable over time. This pattern of behavior was made worse by this. Meri found herself at a crossroads as the truth about her abuse came to light, torn between the need to restore her autonomy and begin the healing process and the desire to preserve some semblance of the family unit that had defined her life for so long. In the end, she decided to go with the latter, realizing that the only way to truly be free was to face the painful realities of her past head-on and hold those responsible for the long-lasting harm they had caused accountable. Viewers and former members of similar plural families have expressed solidarity with her revelations, and many have shared their own experiences of emotional manipulation and neglect. They have also criticized Kody's actions as well as the larger institutional and cultural structures that allowed the abuse to continue unchecked for so long. Following her revelations, conversations have sprung up on fan forums and social media, with hashtags like #HearMeri and #AbuseInPoly trending as supporters call for institutional improvements that will stop others from suffering the same fates as Meri. While reality television frequently blurs the boundaries between performance and authenticity, there comes a time when the lived experiences of those involved cannot be written off as mere entertainment, particularly when those experiences uncover deep-seated patterns of abuse that have actual, long-lasting effects on mental and emotional health, according to legal experts and social commentators who have weighed in on the implications of her testimony. While the story of plural marriage is frequently romanticized as a daring experiment in alternative family structures, the reality is far more complex and, in many cases, harrowing for those who are forced to live within its confines. Critics contend that Kody's behavior, as described by Meri, is representative of a larger crisis within the plural marriage system, where power imbalances and cultural pressures combine to create environments in which abuse can flourish under the veneer of consensual lifestyle choices. Additionally, Meri's brave choice to come forward has not only brought attention to the personal costs of such arrangements, but it has also sparked crucial discussions about the roles that media outlets, religious organizations, and law enforcement play in shielding vulnerable people from abuse. These discussions are becoming more and more pertinent as society comes to terms with the complex nature of emotional manipulation, systemic inequality, and domestic violence. In her moving story, Meri recounted certain times that had plagued her for years, moments when Kody's contemptuous laughing, his mocking remarks, and his overt partiality made her feel as though her suffering was unseen and her hardships weren't worthy of recognition. She described how Kody would casually make comments in front of family and friends that minimized her contributions and her roles as a mother and a partner, fostering an environment of ongoing self-doubt and insecurity that eventually weakened her confidence and made it almost impossible for her to voice her needs. According to Meri, these incidents are not unique, rather, they are a part of a pattern of systematic abuse that has been ongoing for decades. This pattern has left scars on both Meri and her children, who have grown up seeing the toxic dynamics of a family where love and care were inextricably linked to control and manipulation. It has become evident that Meri's story is a potent call to action as her testimony continues to resonate within the sister wives community. It urges both former members of plural families and the general public to reconsider the frequently minimized realities of these relationships and to acknowledge that behind every ostensibly amicable arrangement, there may be untold tales of abuse and suffering. Her disclosures have also led to a critical re-examination of the way reality TV depicts family life, with many contending that the truth about the suffering experienced by those compelled to live their lives in constant public view should not be sacrificed for the sensationalism that boosts ratings. In the end, the revelation of Meri's actual level of abuse acts as both a public indictment and a personal catharsis. It is a monument to the strength of a woman who has endured years of silent suffering before finding the courage to speak out, and it serves as a sobering reminder that real healing can only occur when the truth is no longer concealed behind a facade of controversy and glamour. In addition to freeing herself from the bonds of her past, Meri's story gives hope to countless others who have endured abuse in silence by demonstrating that, even though the scars of abuse may never completely go away, they can act as a catalyst for change. If society embraces this change, it has the potential to not only change the lives of individuals, but also the very systems that have permitted such abuse to continue for far too long.